Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. So Aggie Cortez, one of my favorite people in the world, thank you for joining us for the Mike Litton Experience. You really are, you know that. I'm one of your biggest fans. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, I wanted to meet you face to face, obviously, so I could give you a hug. But I also felt like that it was important that we get together and that we get your story out there. Your story for me is a testimonial in terms of what's happening in modern medicine, and specifically what questions you need to be asking or people need to be asking that they're probably not asking or probably don't feel the confidence to do so, right? So if it's okay with you, you know that our podcast is all about everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And what we believe and what we know, and it's already happening, by the way, we're all of 3 weeks old, just so you know, and we're already starting to get feedback from people that they've been inspired and they've been motivated by the life stories of the people that we're interviewing. So It's already starting to happen. We knew it would, but it's happening more significantly than we even dreamed of.
Right.
So, and that's part of why I wanted to make sure that people heard your story. So if it's okay with you, with your permission, we're going to start with the very beginning. We'll start where you were born, and then we're just going to go all the way through to today. And we'll talk about everything that you want to talk about, that's happening today. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let's start off with where you were born.
I was born in Eva, Hawaii.
Awesome.
Yep. So
I
was a local island girl for the first time is at 7-8 years of my life.
Yeah.
And when we moved here to California, I couldn't speak a lick of straight English.
Oh.
It was your pidgin English. It was the local style bra.
Yeah.
Local Hawaiian. That's how I spoke. Nobody understood what I said. They thought I was foreign.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, by the way, just so you know, Hawaii is a state.
It is a state. And what was funny was the teachers didn't know what to do with me because they knew I was speaking English, but it wasn't the correct English.
Right.
It was the slang. That was the Hawaiian slang. So they sent me to English second language class, which meant I had to learn Spanish before I could learn English.
Wow.
So it was one of those things where I didn't understand why I was learning about los osos and los pajaritos and azul and, just all the different things in Espanol.
Yeah.
So eventually, within 2 years, I was speaking straight English. I no longer had my slang. I was speaking straight English, but I did speak Spanish for 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's kind of mind-boggling. It's like, how do you get from Hawaiian to Spanish to American English?
Right. Sort of a circuitous route, right?
Exactly. And I guess they had a method to it and it worked.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
Whenever I go home now, I still pick up the slang. If I'm around my family, I can speak the slang again.
Yeah.
But once I come back, it's like, oh yeah, that's not kind of how we speak here. So I gotta speak straight English.
Gotta kick that back.
Exactly.
Wow.
So yeah,
Cool.
so we moved here and you and I went to school in junior high.
Yep.
That's where we met each other.
Yep.
And
Lincoln Junior High.
yeah, Lincoln Junior High. And a lot of us actually grew up together from that first meeting, because I think we all blended from different schools.
Yeah,
and that's how we knew each other. And off to high school.
Yeah.
And then college for some people. In my case, I had 2 little ones by the time I was 20.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
you started early. That's cool.
I started early, and life goes on. You learn, you live, you learn, you make your mistakes, you fall, stumble, get scraped up. But eventually you get to this grown-up stage. And you get to this grown-up stage and you realize, wow, I've accomplished a lot. Not a whole lot, A lot of people have done more, but enough that I'm satisfied with,
Sure.
my soul is satisfied with its spirit and where I've been and how many falls it took to get straightened out to where I am now.
Yeah. So who was the most influential person to you in your childhood?
Hmm. Wow. I would have to say my uncles.
Okay.
Because my father passed away when I was relatively young,
Okay.
and I didn't really get to know him. I knew enough of him, but at 7, you don't really know your dad yet.
Yeah.
He's just the guy that just kind of is around, kind
Right.
of thing, and takes care of things. So my uncles, I have several of them because my parents both came from big, large families.
Oh,
So I had uncles everywhere, but they were the ones that kept me straight,
yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I do.
If the mothers go crazy, the aunts go crazy with all kinds of the maniacal things that happen when the hens get together. The
Yeah.
uncles would sit in the background and would just kind of
Chill.
whisper wisdom
Yeah.
to you, you know,
Yeah.
and tell you you can do the stupid things and nobody's going to care, and, and no one's going to ask you in 100 years whether or not it hurt, it was smart, or it you were indifferent to it. They
Right.
wouldn't care. They just wanted you to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I got from that Hawaiian spirit is it was never about timetables, performance, or being better than anybody else. It was, are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
Is this the life that you want?
Yeah.
Kind of
That's
thing.
cool.
And I think they taught me that life is by your design, not by
Mhm.
anybody else's.
I love that. That is really big. That
It,
is
you know,
really big.
it was very influential in the fact that I kind of have lived my life that way,
Yeah.
where I didn't really follow the mold that was given to my parents, their parents. I followed my own path.
Yeah.
And I think once you realize that a sense of freedom of not having to prove yourself to anyone else but to yourself,
Right.
it's very freeing.
Yeah. It really is. That's
So
that's really cool. So how many uncles did you have? That was quite a few, it sounds like.
oh wow. Okay, so my mother came from a family of 7 siblings, and I
Wow.
had I two, I think there was 3 uncles there.
Wow.
And then my dad had, I'm gonna say 2, but you also adopted the other uncles, like the
Right.
second uncles outside kind of thing. So in total, I probably had about 10 uncles,
Wow. That's a
and they were
crew.
all varying ages. I had the old ones and the young ones.
Yeah.
So and it kind of speaks to the fact that I've always hung around with boys.
Yeah.
And you know me, I've always hung out with the
Yep.
boys. I've never
Yep.
really hung out with the girls because it was funny growing up that I enjoyed the girls only because
Mhm.
we did the makeup, the clothes, the whole tiger beat thing.
Yeah.
God, are we dating ourselves, tiger beat?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we are.
um, but I felt more comfortable with boys because it was a lot easier to get honesty out of them. There
Yeah.
was no agenda
Yeah.
kind of thing. Where girls kind of they have that agenda, that weird kind of weirdness. And I'm gonna say that I took part in that too because I am a girl.
Yeah.
But when I look at my life, it was so much easier to get along with the boys.
Yeah.
And that's because I had a bunch of uncles.
Right. I got you.
That was my influence.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Oh,
That's so
you should.
cool. It's like having your own board of directors, That's really neat. You have this sort of board of directors of 10 uncles, right? I mean, it's really cool,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
I just love this. And so you have 2 kids by age 20, okay?
Uh-huh.
So you got little ones running around. And what happens? So you go to work raising them, right? What
Right.
happens? So do you stay home with them? Do you go to work? What happens at that point?
My mom stepped in.
Okay.
Mom stepped in and provided daycare. And at first, she didn't like the idea of having a teenage mom at home,
Oh,
or at least a teenage mom as a daughter
right.
altogether.
Right.
But once the kids were born, her heart turned.
Oh, sure.
She realized that I can't be hard on her because these are my grandkids,
Right.
kind of thing. And she had her little, moment where she finally realized that you cannot force your ideology on your daughter, because your daughter's still going to do what she's going to do, which is have these kids
Right.
and raise them well.
Right.
I'm not going to make them suffer. I'm not going to, ensure that they have a life of servitude to
Right.
anybody.
I got you.
But she changed because my mother was very rigid in her philosophies and her beliefs, and it took the kids to break that.
Yeah.
And it was a nice change. But then, as they got older, then the philosophies came back, and we kind of had to rejigger a few things to kind of get around the rigidness again.
Yeah. So do you be the enforcer or do you be the grandma? Which one do you want more?
Exactly.
Right.
You have to decide.
Yeah.
Do you want a relationship with them, or do you want them to turn their backs on you?
Drive
Because
away. Right.
at the end of the day, you've got a free will daughter who does things of her own volition.
Yeah.
And you don't think that's going to pass down to the next generation, because I guarantee you it does.
Yeah. Just so we're clear.
So we're clear. It's just the one genetic thing that I'm going to pass down to them is I want them to think for themselves.
Yeah.
Kind
That's
of thing.
cool.
So, and
That's
I've
cool.
been lucky, knock on wood.
So mom steps in, mom helps, and then
Yes.
you go to work, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I start my little career of, let me just see if I like this or if I like that. I ended up being a clerk or a clerical person at a retailer.
Mhm.
And I was like, I kind of like this. I kind of like working in an office. I kind of like being around these machines and understanding accounting things,
Right.
Inventory and accounting things.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that I needed to step up every few years.
Yeah.
Step up my role, step up my thinking, step up my training, if you will.
Okay.
And every 4 years, I switched up. I switched up from a retailer to an actual business, from an
Really?
actual business to a SME business, a small, medium-sized business,
Right.
then a medium-sized business, and a larger business, and an
Right.
extra large business, to a conglomerate.
Right.
And then now I'm with the
The
federal
biggest
government,
business.
the biggest one of all. So I look at my accomplishments is when I jumped to bigger things.
Yeah.
I didn't jump down to smaller things. I just kept jumping up. And I was fortunate in the fact that every role I ever took, I learned a few more things.
Yeah.
And took it with me. Learned
Yeah.
a few more things, took it with me. And since I had my kids so young, I didn't have the opportunity to go to college. I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
But my 35 years in business basically was my college degree.
Yeah.
And so, I also explained to my kids when they were going through do I go to college or do I go to trade school or do something else? What do I do?
Mhm.
I said, at the end of the day, the degree is only going to define where you go.
Right.
It's not going to define the life you want.
True.
So you have to decide on the kind of life you want. And then you go from there. You fill in the blanks.
Right.
Either work towards that or you train towards that. You learn towards that. Whatever you do, you just keep moving.
Right.
You don't plan on staying in step one and never moving.
So
That's not
one
what life is
foot
about.
in front of the other, keep progressing.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Well, that's more of that life by design thing.
Exactly. See, and unfortunately, I've watched many of our friends get
Mhm.
stuck in that hole. They get
Yeah.
pigeonholed into an ideal that has not been very good to them,
Yeah.
but it's what they had in their mind's eye expected of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't agree.
I agree with that.
I think everyone has their own destiny, and I think that you can guide someone, but at the end of the day, they have to live that life.
Yeah.
And they have to be happy with the choices that they made. And that's kind of the way I parented as well, was I'm going to give you the choices. Here are your 3 choices. Which one's going to make the best sense for you?
Right.
I don't care what the cost is, as long as you know what is going to be the best decision for you.
Right.
And they went with that. So my kids were not raised on the same principles I was, which was very strict and structured and sterile.
Right.
They were more feral than anything else, which wasn't bad. It just allowed them to explore other opportunities.
Well, it
That
sounds
made
like
sense
it
to
sounds like
them.
you gave them some freedom
Yes, I did. I did.
within
And
reason, right? Yeah,
exactly. I didn't give them complete freedom,
right.
but I gave them the freedom they needed.
Yeah.
And when we lived up north in Escondido, North Escondido,
Mhm.
up off of Gopher Canyon back that way,
Yep.
I remember the first time my son and daughter saw the house.
Mhm.
They sat there and they said, "This is way out there, Mom. There's no Pizza Hut. There's no there's no Kentucky Fried. There's nowhere to get fast food."
That's true.
I said, "And they don't deliver, guys. Guess
Yeah.
what? You're gonna have to make your meals here at
Oh,
home."
oh, what a shocker.
Yeah. And they learned to sustain. They weren't like jumping on a bus to go into town to get junk food. They were literally at home making their meals and doing whatever it is they do. And so they were feral in the neighborhood in the sense that this is all they could go to because
Yeah.
anything else was too far.
Yeah.
And I think the way our parents were raised, where they were raised on farms or they were raised in those kind of industrial kind of living situations, they thought differently.
Yeah. I
They
agree.
they were a lot more feral than the kids today, which they're kind of in a box.
Hmm.
I mean, the kids today are like Susie and Bobby have school at 7, um, whatever, soccer at 4, dinner at 6, homework at 7, and it's so structured that they can't be kids.
Yeah.
But that's the expectation in today's society, and it's like they can't even think for themselves.
Yeah. We used to go out and we'd go out until mom called us for dinner, right?
Or
Or
the
or
street lights would
or it
turn
was
on.
dark. Yeah, or it's dark, right?
Exactly.
That
So
was our time. That was our
I
expiration time. So
that was our expiration time, and we didn't complain about the hose water that tasted like rubber when it was coming out and you were thirsty, even though we were kind of, oh, I know that's a carcinogen, but I'm thirsty. I'm gonna
yeah,
drink it.
right.
We're still here. We're
Yeah,
still
we
here, people.
somehow we survived, right?
We
What's that about?
survived all of that. So I worry about my grandkids' future.
Yeah.
I worry about.
Adorable, by the way. Those are the
Oh, thank
prettiest grandkids on the planet. I'm telling you.
and you know what? They're just like me.
Yeah. I love that. I love that about them.
Exactly. Like I said, the other one just goes, "I'm going camping with her tonight. Tonight,
Right.
we're going camping." No, no,
Yeah.
no, we're not going camping.
Yeah. We're going camping next month, right?
Exactly. But I worry about our future as people,
Yeah.
that these kids aren't learning those critical life skills that we learned,
Yeah.
getting dirty, getting beat up, getting scraped up on the asphalt. They're not learning any of those things, like how to survive that kind of pain.
Yeah,
Because
no,
a
I
lot
agree
of
with
them.
that. And that was something that when our kids were growing up, that was something that I was concerned about, and I still am. I we never made our kids do anything, right?
Hmm.
If they wanted to do something, they could go do it. We wouldn't say
Hmm.
no to them. They could
Right.
go do it, but they had to do it to our standard, right?
Right.
And I was probably more strict than you were as a parent, but I also was pretty loose when it came to, I didn't make them do anything in particular. So they had to go to school, they had to get good grades, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
The
then
basic stuff.
when it came to play, when it came to
Uh-huh.
extracurricular stuff, when it came to that kind of stuff, we
Hmm.
just, we let them do whatever it was that they wanted to do. They just had to do it to our standard. As long as they
Right.
did that, they were fine. So
The one thing that my kids stressed out about, and it kind of goes back to, I let them be themselves kind of people,
yeah,
was they always were nervous at big birthday parties. You had those kids that had the big birthday parties where they invite all the kids in the class
yeah.
to those things, and they used to get anxiety. And
Why?
I go, why is that? I mean, why are you having? Because I don't like having that many people. They're very private people, by the way.
Yeah,
So I said, well, you're just gonna go and do the bounce house and eat some cake and candy and run around with your friends. And they go, "That's not our thing." "Well, what do you want to do for your birthday?" "I just want to take a friend and go to Catalina, or I want to take a friend and go to Magic Mountain."
wow,
"That's what you want for your birthday?" "Yeah." "No birthday party?" "No." We just
wow.
we wanted private time with our friends to enjoy a place, a space, a thing, an adventure.
So an
So
experience.
an experience. So my kids have always been the ones that wanted an experience over gifts.
Huh. That is cool.
They never wanted, I mean, we did buy the Sega and the Nintendos and, all that stuff. We did buy all that stuff, but they never really took to them like we thought they would.
Huh.
They wanted adventure. They wanted
cool.
experiences. They wanted to see the world, which they both have in their own way,
Right.
kind of thing. But it made them a lot richer for that because they got the experience.
I'm with
They
you.
weren't stuck in a room with a remote control or a whatever thingy
Right.
playing Mario Kart all day long.
Right.
They were outside getting dirty.
I love
And I
it.
kind of like that. I was like, all right, you came back dirty. Okay, fine. Just put it in the laundry.
Right. Getting scraped up a little, right?
Exactly. And you just got to love it that they're very humbled by the fact that they've seen other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And they've seen that we kind of have it good here.
Yeah.
Even though people would say that we don't, no, we do.
Yeah. Go travel to a foreign country and stay there for a little while and then tell me how bad we have it here. Okay.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that I don't understand that about our society is that we've got it so bad. No, we don't.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't understand. And it's kind of what it brings back the notion that what are we teaching ourselves and what are we teaching our kids? That we're superior? No, we're human just like the next person.
Yeah.
We're human just like the next country. And that country might not have potable water. I mean, might not have drinkable water. It's all potable water.
Right.
And that's not healthy.
Right.
And so luckily my kids got to see that. They got to see working on a farm, working with wild animals. They got to do those things, which was really nice because it brought back that humble pie that they need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I told my kids growing up, I said, listen, if I had my way, I'd get you in a time machine and you'd go back to Oklahoma and you'd work on the farm for 9 years like I did with my grandfather. Right. So I told him, I said, listen, if you ever even sound like you're privileged, you're spoiled, any of that kind of stuff, I'm going to take you to a local horse ranch and you're going to muck out stalls for a while for free. Right. And every time they'd have one of those moments, I'd ask them, you ready to go muck out some stalls? Right. And they'd look to me and, Dad, what's in the stalls? What are we mucking out? And I explained it to them and they're like, oh, no. We don't want to have anything to do with that. Right. Right. But it was one of those things where they needed to understand that they were having a better childhood by far than I had. Right. Yep. And we can go to that humble place if we absolutely need to. Right. We've got some humble pie we can serve up. Okay.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And the irony is that, now that we're in this space where there's TikTok and Reels and all this other craziness, and these kids are proving to me that your parents aren't watching you. Yeah. Your parents aren't guiding you. Your parents are, go explain to your parents what you're doing, because I guarantee you they're not going to appreciate it.
Yeah, they're not paying attention.
They're not paying attention.
Yeah.
That frightens me.
And that's one of the things that COVID did, I think, is it got parents to where they had to sit down, they had to listen in, they had to hear what their kids were being taught and what their kids were up to and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden it was like the light went on. And now you've got this whole movement of people, parents, right, and grandparents, true, included, right, that are now. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out Calendly.com/Rio760.